you're not well, and still really appreciate you joining. So first question is, last 2 years have been extremely odd, extremely disruptive for the industry, for the whole world, but let's talk about IT industry specifically. But it has also been a positive disruption in many cases, right? In terms of the hiring numbers, as everyone has been seeing. So what has this year been from a hiring perspective for a TCS? And as I was saying before we started, TCS is the representative for the entire industry. So whatever TCS does is basically being followed by companies of all sizes. It's a trendsetter. So it'd be very curious to hear about your perspective about how these last 2 years were.
Thank you, Amit, for that question. And I believe all those who are on the call are already aware of the kind of numbers, because media has been talking about these numbers, and our management has been, talking about these numbers as part of the quarterly reports, results, and all. So definitely, we see that the year so far has been really, really good. And though the numbers are there in the media, I need not, repeat myself with those numbers. The numbers are mammoth, and the growth in terms of the potential, even for the fiscal year as it is coming to a close. Also, I'm seeing a good growth in terms of the number additions, what we will be doing. And including the recruitment, which are like currently the hiring categories which are going on at this moment in time for freshers. It's all on our website, talks about it in terms of whether it is engineering, whether it is BSc, BCom, all hiring categories are currently going on, and we are looking at, immediate joiners within this quarter who can join and be part of our growth journey. So definitely the numbers look good. So far, it has been good until Q3, and Q4 also is looking very good. And that way, the number is ever increasing, if I have to answer that. And with pandemic, without pandemic, there has been no stopping for us. And it has been, if I can really say that, it has been a business as usual for us for all these 2 years. So definitely.
Excellent. I mean, that's great to hear. And of course, credit to you and to your team and at all the IT companies. I mean, not just TCS. But how did you, when the pandemic first struck in early 2020, how did you adjust or change or adapt the hiring process? I'd be very curious to hear about that, especially from a fresher hiring perspective as well as from experienced hiring perspective.
Very interesting, and definitely most of the audience would be aware of our process as of now. But the one thing which I would like to mention is that even without the pandemic came much later, I would say we were already prepared, because we had already gone into a digital mode, much before the pandemic struck in. And as I said, I believe the foresightedness by our management, our leaders who have been guiding us all through the processes. We went to digital way back before pandemic struck in. So, we were partially in, in terms of digital interviews which were going on. Our panels used to be in office, and the HR team used to travel to the colleges. And, we used to have in a partial digital mode, it was going on. So when the pandemic struck, it did not take much time for us to get accommodated to that entire 100% virtual mode. So it became very easy for us, and that way the transition from a partial digital mode to a fully digital mode, it did not take much time, and the team was equipped and prepared. So that way, definitely going to 100% digital mode was not at all an issue for us. So we did it, we managed it seamlessly, I would say.
Yeah, I think indeed. I think Hrishikesh, I'll ask you a question. I'm going to switch back and forth between Marathi and English as well. ऋषिकेश, आता बऱ्याच लोकांना हे माहिती असेल, पण थोडक्यात तुमच्या कॅम्पस हायरिंग प्रोसेस बद्दल थोडं सांगाल का, ज्यांना ती प्रोसेस माहित नाहीये? तुम्ही एक पॅन्डेमिकच्या आधी 3 वर्षापूर्वी मला वाटतं एक मोठी स्टँडर्डाइज टेस्ट ऑनलाईन केली होती वगैरे, त्याबद्दल आणि त्या प्रोसेस बद्दल थोडं सांगाल का?
हो, बिलकुल. आधी पण मी एक सांगतो, जरी अमित आंबेकर म्हटला की डिस्क्लेमर की हे टीसीएस विषय नाहीये, पण मी आणि कला वी आर विथ टीसीएस मोर दॅन 10+ इयर्स. त्यामुळे इतकं टाटा भिनलंय की आमची थोडीशी उत्तरं टीसीएसच्या अनुषंगाने जाणार आहेत.
मी जसं सुरुवातीला म्हणलं की टीसीएस इज अ ट्रेंड सेटर अँड ॲब्सोल्युटली इट इज लर्निंग फॉर नॉट जस्ट the prospective employees here, but also for the other companies.
Correct. So आम्ही जरी म्हटलं की टीसीएस असं करते, पण टीसीएस असं करते म्हणजे इंडस्ट्री थोडक्यात असं करते. ते इट्स अंडरलाईन. पण या ऍज कला सेड आम्ही 2018 पासूनच ही नॅशनल क्वालिफायर टेस्ट लॉन्च केली. ऍक्च्युली आमच्याकडे TCS मध्ये एक आयॉन नावाचं एक युनिट आहे जे बऱ्याचशा असेसमेंट टेस्ट घेतात. म्हणजे भारतातल्या ऑलमोस्ट मेजॉरिटी असेसमेंट टेस्ट ज्या आहेत त्या TCS आयॉन प्लॅटफॉर्मवर कंडक्ट होतात. म्हणजे जसं की JEE आहे म्हणा, कॅट आहे, गेट आहे किंवा RBIची आहे, रेल्वेजची
म्हणजे
आहे.
तुम्ही ऑलरेडी ही सर्व्हिस बाकीच्या कंपन्यांना देत होता.
देतो एक्झॅक्टली. आणि आमचं म्हणजे जवळजवळ 650+ आयॉन सेंटर्स भारतभरात वेगवेगळ्या ठिकाणी आहेत. म्हणजे कुठल्याही मुलाला परीक्षा द्यायला 50 किलोमीटरपेक्षा जास्त रेडियसच्या बाहेर जावं लागत नाही. आणि आमच्या सीईओचं किंवा सिनियर मॅनेजमेंटचं स्वप्न होतं की जर आपण इतक्या दुनियाभरच्या एक्झाम्स घेतो देन व्हाय नॉट अवर ओन कॅम्पस रिक्रुटमेंट टेस्ट. आणि विथ दॅट इंटेंट वी लॉन्च दिस नॅशनल क्वालिफायर टेस्ट इन 2018. आणि जसा कला म्हटली तसा 2018 पासूनच आम्ही थोडंसं पोस्ट कोविड एरासाठी अलाइन झालो होतो आणि आम्ही ऑनलाईनच इंटरव्ह्यूज पण घ्यायचो. आणि बेसिकली वी हॅव डेमोक्रेटाइज दिस हायरिंग प्रोसेस. म्हणजे आधी आम्ही कसं महाराष्ट्रात समजा एक 40 कॉलेजेस TCSने अक्रेडिट केले होते आणि तिथेच फक्त आम्ही कॅम्पस रिक्रुटमेंट जायचो. पण महाराष्ट्रातच बघितलं जवळजवळ 350 इंजिनिअरिंग कॉलेजेस आहेत. त्या उरलेल्या कॉलेजच्या मुलांना तेवढ्या संध्या मिळत नव्हत्या. आणि मग हे नॅशनल क्वालिफायर लॉन्च केल्यापासून वी हॅव काइंड ऑफ डिकमिशन दिस अक्रेडिटेशन कन्सेप्ट. आणि मग सगळ्याच कॉलेजेसची मुलं इफ दे आर एलिजिबल विथ रिस्पेक्ट टू आवर एलिजिबिलिटी क्रायटेरिया कॅन अटेम्प्ट दॅट नॅशनल क्वालिफायर टेस्ट. तो एक इंटेंट होता की टॅलेंट कॅन कम फ्रॉम एनिवेअर. त्यामुळे मग ह्या अनुषंगाने आम्ही ही नॅशनल क्वालिफायर लॉन्च केली. आणि मग जवळजवळ एक 4 ते 5 लाख मुलं त्या 2-3 दिवसाच्या विंडो पिरियडमध्ये वेगवेगळ्या आयन सेंटरवर जाऊन परीक्षा लिहितात. आणि मग त्यातनं आम्हाला खूप चांगलं टॅलेंट मिळतं इरिस्पेक्टिव्ह ऑफ विच कॉलेज दे कम फ्रॉम.
पण तुमची प्रोसेस कशी असते? म्हणजे ही टेस्ट तुम्ही वर्षातनं किती वेळा घेता आणि त्यात किती शॉर्टलिस्ट करता? आणि साधारणतः टेस्टमध्ये काय काय, म्हणजे ही अशी ऍप्टिट्यूड टेस्ट असते का तुम्ही सॉफ्टवेअर स्किल्स पण बघता?
सांगतो. सो पहिले 3 वर्ष म्हणजे 2018, 19, 20 ला आयॉन टीमनी ही टेस्ट फक्त TCS कॅम्पस रिक्रुटमेंटसाठीच कंडक्ट केली होती. आणि ती वर्षातनं फक्त एकदाच व्हायची. साधारण ऑगस्ट सप्टेंबर हा टाइम फ्रेम होता. आणि त्याच्यात 3 सेक्शन असतात. एक तर ऍप्टिट्यूड, एक व्हर्बल ॲबिलिटी आणि एक ऍक्च्युअली कोडिंग प्रोग्रामिंग सेक्शन असतं. ऑफकोर्स आता इंजिनिअरिंगच्या ब्रांचेस वेगवेगळ्या आहेत, पण आम्हाला प्रत्येक ब्रांचसाठी एक वेगळी टेस्ट डिझाईन नाही करता येणार, कारण द नंबर ऑफ स्टुडंट्स अपियर इज लार्ज. त्यामुळे एक स्टँडर्डाइज प्रोसेस म्हणून आम्ही एक कोडिंग सेक्शन पण ठेवलं आहे. आता IT इंडस्ट्री असल्यामुळे थोडंसं एक प्रोग्रामिंगचं एक्सपोजर प्रत्येक मुलाला असावं. आणि जनरली इंजिनिअरिंग फर्स्ट इयरमध्ये प्रत्येक मुलगा एक तरी प्रोग्रामिंग शिकतो, C++. सो विथ दॅट इंटेंट आम्ही हे स्टँडर्ड टेस्ट डिझाईन केली आहे. आणि पहिले 3 वर्ष ती आयॉननी फक्त TCS साठी कंडक्ट केली. आणि फायनल इयरची मुलं त्यात रजिस्टर करून अपियर झाले आणि मग देन वी कंडक्टेड द इंटरव्ह्यू. पण गेल्या वर्षीपासून आमच्या आयॉन टीमनी दे हॅव लॉन्च दिस NQT ॲज अ ऑफरिंग. सो इव्हन अदर कॉर्पोरेट्स आर कन्सिडरिंग दिस NQT स्कोर्स फॉर देअर रिक्रुटमेंट. आणि मग सिन्स इट्स ऑफरिंग, इट्स अ कमर्शियल ऑफरिंग बेसिकली फ्रॉम आयॉन टीम. आणि त्यामुळे मग त्यांनी दे हॅव स्टार्टेड कंडक्टिंग इन एव्हरी क्वार्टर. दर 3 महिन्यानंतर ते ही कंडक्ट करतायत. तर ती एकच जी आहे ऑगस्ट सप्टेंबर मधली, ती TCS साठी वी कन्सिडर फायनल इयर स्टुडंट्स ऑफ दॅट NQT. आणि मग त्यांचे स्कोर्स आम्ही कन्सिडर करून आमचं रिक्रुटमेंट प्रोसेस करतो. त्यात पण TCS साठी अपियर करणाऱ्या लोकांना ती फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट आहे. फक्त बाकीच्या म्हणजे जनरली दे कन्सिडर फायनल इयर, प्री फायनल इयर आणि लास्ट 2 पास्ड आउट बॅच स्टुडंट्स टू अपियर दिस NQT. बाकीच्या बॅचेसच्या मुलांना ते NQTचं स्कोर कार्ड मिळतं, जे वापरून ते वेगवेगळ्या काही कॉर्पोरेट्सला अप्लाय करू शकतात. सध्या एक 12-15 कॉर्पोरेट्सनी टायअप केला आहे. म्हणजे त्या NQTच्या वेबसाईटवरती पूर्ण लिस्ट आहे. त्यात बऱ्याचशा टाटा ग्रुपच्या पण कंपनी आहेत, म्हणजे क्रोमा आहे, टायटन आहे, किंवा टाटा पॉवर किंवा टाटा इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स कंपनी आहे. सो
या टेस्टमध्ये स्कोर आला की त्याच्या पुढे काय होतं? म्हणजे तुम्ही काय 10% रिलेटिव्ह ग्रेडिंग करता?
आता या सप्टेंबरमध्ये जी झाली दॅट वॉज फॉर 22 पासिंग आउट बॅच.
बरोबर.
तर त्यात TCS साठी ज्यांनी अपियर केलं होतं तर TCSच्या एलिजिबिलिटी क्रायटेरियानुसार जे 60% थ्रू आउट होते. आणि एक रफली सांगायचं तर एक साधारण 50% सेक्शनल कट ऑफ आहे असं गृहीत धरून चालू आपण तिन्ही सेक्शनला. तर त्या मुलांना TCS कडे डायरेक्टली पुढच्या प्रोसेसचे इंटरव्ह्यूचे मेल गेले. आणि जे TCS साठी एलिजिबल नव्हते किंवा ज्यांचे स्कोर कमी आले त्यांना आम्ही स्कोर कार्ड पाठवले, जे स्कोर कार्ड वापरून ते मुलं दुसऱ्या कंपन्यांना अप्लाय करू शकतात. आणि आयॉनने असं सांगितलं की दॅट स्कोर विल बी व्हॅलिड फॉर सर्टन ड्युरेशन. माझ्या मते 1 वर्ष काहीतरी तो किंवा 2 वर्ष व्हॅलिड ठेवणार आहेत, जेणेकरून ते स्कोर कार्ड जसं GRAचा स्कोर वापरून तुम्ही यू कॅन अप्लाय फॉर फॉरेन युनिव्हर्सिटीज ऑन सिमिलर पॅटर्न, तो स्कोर कार्ड वापरून ते बाकीच्या कंपन्यांना अप्लाय करू शकतात. ऑफकोर्स त्या कंपन्यांचं त्यांचं रिस्पेक्टिव्ह फर्दर प्रोसेस जे काय असेल ते करतीलच. पण साधारण हा पॅटर्न आहे. आणि मग ते वर्षात 4 वेळा घेतात. त्यामुळे मुलांना स्कोर इम्प्रुव्हमेंटसाठी इफ दे डोंट स्कोर वेल इन दिस नेक्स्ट अटेम्प्ट परत
GRE सारखं किंवा JEE सारखं तुम्हाला मल्टिपल
एक्झॅक्टली
तो स्कोर वरनं तुम्ही ठरवता की कोणाला इन पर्सन म्हणजे आता डिजिटल इंटरव्ह्यूला बोलवायचं साधारणतः.
So, आता तो ऍक्च्युअली कला probably will be able to answer की तो
Okay, so I guess that's the next important question. After they get a score, let's say they get a score, what's the process for shortlisting after that?
Okay, I am seeing questions on similar lines even popping up in the question bar as well. So as far as the what Hrishikesh explained about NQT is related to that NQT offering which we talked about, and yearly once for campus which we conduct, in the month of August, September and all. So the question what you are asking in terms of the process part of it, just going a little deep into the process, since the audience is more curious to know that the sections, what kind of questions also we are asking. So we have a cognitive ability to what Hrishikesh said. I'm just breaking it further in terms of what exactly that aptitude is comprising of. So the cognitive ability section, which will have reasoning ability, verbal ability, and numerical ability. So there are 3 sections within the cognitive ability. And the second section, which Hrishikesh spoke about, was the programming section, wherein we have a programming logic as well as the hands-on coding section. So we are talking about C, C++, Java, Perl, Python. Again, an important point here, let the audience not be under the impression that again, it will be only a IT or a CS student who will be able to compete, because that's not the case. We are looking for a good engineer. We are looking for a good BCom. We are looking for a good BSc candidate. We are looking for a good BDes, a good MDes candidate. You name the qualifications.
Thanks for highlighting that, because that's the most common question.
Yes. So we are looking at host of qualifications across from where we can pull the right talent. So as far as the programming section is concerned, as appropriate, as relevant will be considered for the engineering, predominantly the engineering batch, of course. And what the students have to remember is that it's not we cannot assume, the students cannot, the audience here cannot assume that it's, again, I'm repeating, that it is for CS or IT, even for the engineering batch. What we are saying is that we are looking for a good student, irrespective of the stream. So the C++, Java, Perl, Python programming for the engineering batch, what we are talking about, is comprising of the basics what each of the engineering student would have studied in the first year. So it's not something very complicated or only the CS or IT student will be able to answer. We are saying that this question paper is designed in a way that any good engineering student will be able to answer, because it comprises of their basics, fundamentals, what they would have studied in the duration of their engineering up to 3 years, if they are part of campus, up to 4th year off campus. Because one important point which I want to make here, as we spoke about the growth in terms of the hiring additions which are going on at this moment in TCS, even now at this point when we are talking, we have our off-campus recruitment going on every weekend. Now this will give you an idea that how the hiring spree is going on in terms of adding the numbers, because we are looking for good talent. Even now, every weekend we are having tests. I saw a question on the question bar, the chat bar, that what happens to a BCom student or a BSc, or there were a few qualifications highlighted. We are having, as I told you even earlier, all our hiring information on our TCS careers portal right now is going on. So we are looking for students from various qualifications who can still apply, and we are conducting tests every weekend. And in the subsequent weekend, the interview starts for the students who are shortlisted. Now, coming to your question, Amit, that what happens once the test is given? So there is a certain cutoff which is taken at our end, basis which a shortlisting is done. And upon that shortlisting, the shortlisted candidates are directly called for the interview. So once they are called for the interview, the entire process is remote. And the process, as I said, is remote. And from there, the shortlisted candidates will immediately get to know about the selection process. Those who have not qualified have to wait for the communication from our end for the next step. I see a question with respect to that also, that they have given certain round and they're waiting for the next round of communication, whatever. So those who, as I said, the shortlisted will be taken ahead for the process. The ones who have not been called for the interview, please do wait for the next round of communication from our end, which will come, and we will let you know exactly what is to be done next.
Okay, so that's very helpful. I have a few broader questions, but this is one of the most important areas, and that's where most of the questions are coming from. So let me ask Prashant, since he's been following some of these questions in detail, to chip in and ask some of these key questions again before we move on to the next topic. Prashant?
Thanks, Amit. So I think Kalaa referred to some of these questions already, and so did Rishi while answering. But if it's okay with both of you, here is what we're going to do. I'll actually read the question as is, as it stands, so that it's in the language of the recipient. And possibly some of these questions would have just the answer as yes or no, so that we can quickly go through 4 or 5 of these questions, if that's okay. So I'll get the first one. So BA, that's from Jitendra. I have completed BA BCom or BA BCom completed students. Can they apply to TCS?
Yes, they can apply to TCS. The only difference is that instead of applying to the IT section, they have to go and apply under BPS section. So they can go register there, and they can wait to hear from us.
Thank you so much. The other question is, if a student has education gap, hasn't continuously passed, can they apply to TCS?
They can apply to TCS. There is a certain period, we say that up to 24 months is allowed as part of the gap. But depending on the valid reason, because we will be validating the reason for the gap and everything. So the student, while applying, because when they apply to TCS, like when they're filling up the details in the application form, they can declare those gaps, and we will be taking due consideration as their application progresses and if they get shortlisted.
Thank you so much.
This one is add on here, Prashant.
Please.
Gap between the degrees is allowed till 2 years. माझ्या मते प्रश्न असा आहे की एक्सटेंडेड एज्युकेशन अलाउड आहे का? म्हणजे इंजिनिअरिंगचा कोर्स 4 वर्षाचा असेल, मी 5 वर्षात केलाय, तर करंट जी डिग्री आहे, लेटेस्ट डिग्री, त्याच्यात एक्सटेंडेड एज्युकेशन TCS डोंट कन्सिडर ॲज एलिजिबल. समजा मास्टर्स केलं असेल आणि बॅचलर्स मध्ये एखादा गॅप असेल तर चालेल, पण करंट डिग्री हॅज टू बी कम्प्लिटेड इन द स्टिप्युलेटेड टाइम ओनली.
Yeah, only one caveat to what Hrishikesh mentioned, that because of pandemic, we do understand that a lot of things have gone haywire for many of us in terms of results coming in or backlog clearance and all would have taken time. So that exception we will consider. So extended education because of pandemic reasons, we are taking due consideration.
Thank you so much. The next question is from Ankush Agarwal. Will abroad education be considered if someone pursued MS in CS from USA? My job is just to ask the question. So, yeah.
Yes, the answer is yes.
Thank you. The next question is from Nupur Fadnis. If I have experience of 1 year and have a good NQT score in hand, will it be considered as fresher or given opportunities based on the year's experience?
Answer is yes. Up to 2 years, we call them as freshers. Anybody who is up to 2 years of experience will come under our freshers category. They can definitely try to apply to us.
All right. So there's another one. That's from Mr. Kadam. I have completed MBA in marketing. I'm a fresher. How can I apply? Possibly you already answered, but nevertheless.
Yeah, so the site is open. Mr. Prashant can definitely apply because we have our MBA ad also going live on TCS Careers portal. All they have to do is that they have to go and apply, submit their application form, and they can wait for the test and the subsequent interview process if shortlisted.
Sure.
Okay.
There is an interesting one. Somebody says plain graduation, there is no knowledge of coding C, C++, Java, .NET, Java, etc. So I think that's not a question, that's a statement. I think I would only say that study and learn some of these languages possibly, but that me answering just myself.
Yeah.
I'll just take a couple more, Amit, and I'll hand it over to you in a minute.
Sorry, Prashant, I'll just clarify that one because that I covered in the previous point. Maybe there was some miscommunication if they have not understood it clearly. The coding section is predominantly for our engineering batch. And the BSc students have to give the cognitive ability only. And the section programming is optional for them. In case if they appear, it doesn't matter whether they have done it extremely well or not well. If extremely well, definitely it will come into our light and we will give the due consideration. But what I'm trying to say is that The programming section, I think a lot of audience has this inquisitiveness because we talked about the pattern of the question. I'm just repeating, the programming section is exclusively for the engineering batch. For rest, it's optional.
Oh, thank you for that clarification. Very, very helpful.
Let me add one more point. जे आम्ही NQT म्हणतो, नॅशनल क्वालिफायर टेस्ट, इट्स अ जनरिक टर्म. आणि आम्ही वेगवेगळ्या प्रकारचे हायरिंग घेतो. म्हणजे इंजिनिअरिंगचं जे हायरिंग आहे त्याला प्रेडॉमिनेटली आम्ही निंजा किंवा डिजिटल हायरिंग म्हणतो. BSc लोकांचं एक जे आहे त्याला स्मार्ट हायरिंग म्हणतो, किंवा BPSचं जे होतं बीकॉम BAचं, तर त्याच्या वेगवेगळ्या NQT होतात. आणि त्यातलं बीकॉम BA वाल्यांना प्रोग्रामिंग सेक्शन नसतं, किंवा इव्हन BSc वाल्यांना प्रोग्रामिंग सेक्शन मॅन्डेटरी नाहीये. इव्हन फॉर MBA वी कंडक्ट अ सेपरेट NQT, त्याच्यात पण प्रोग्रामिंग सेक्शन नाहीये. प्रोग्रामिंग सेक्शन फक्त इंजिनिअरिंगचे जे दोन हे आहेत, निंजा आणि डिजिटल, त्याच्यातच फक्त आहे.
Thank you. I'll take last question, then I'll hand it over to Amit after this. So this question from Abhijit, who has 13 years of experience in IT industry. And the question essentially is, what is the scope of cloud technology in Indian IT industries? I think any one of us can say that there is a lot of scope, but if there is anything specific you would like to add, both of you would like to add.
I think, Prashant, let's take that separately. I'm going to come to the experience section. So let's club that with it. Because
then I'll hand it over to you, Amit. Please.
Yeah, because I think we have had a lot of questions from fresher hiring, and obviously that is the bulk of our attendees, but we do have some attendees, and as was advertised, this is also applicable for experienced candidates, and we have gotten a few live questions on that as well. So let me take a step back and ask you about the process at a high level for the experienced candidates. And as you just clarified, experienced candidates are people with more than 2 years after their graduation, so who are not considered as freshers, who have worked somewhere else. What is the process there? And an important question related to that, which has come from many people, is the issues with the notice period. So I'll let you answer that at a broad level as well before we get into specific questions, because both sides are often pained by the 90-day notice period when it comes to experienced people. So that is another area as part of the process that we would like to understand from you, either of you.
Okay. Now the question has shifted to experienced professional hiring. So I'll just keep it at a very broad level, since I do not represent the forum for experienced professionals, but definitely as part of TCS, on behalf of my colleague, my counterpart, I would like to answer that. As far as the positions are very specific when it comes, unlike freshers, wherein we say that we are hiring trainees. When it comes to experienced professional hiring, we do advertise in terms of specifics, which technology, what area, and all we are looking for. So for that, again, careers portal, we have our job codes going live. We have all the advertisements going live where all the potential hires can go and check, which position they would like to apply for. That is one. Second, they also have to fill up the application form and wait for our team to get back to them basis the screening of their profile, whether it matches to the requirement, the business requirement or no. Third, with respect to the notice period and all, I know it's the great resignations which we are talking about, and a lot of market, going around the part of notice period specifically. My only suggestion to the job seekers would be that, in case if they are looking for a potential role which matches to their aspiration, and if they get one, I think they should stick to that, commitment once given to any organization. I'm not talking in particular to TCS for that matter, but for any company where they would have given interviews. It should not happen that a person ends up with 2-3 offers and then keeps on telling all 3 of them that they will join, and then end up joining one of them. That should, or end up joining the 4th one, which was not even there in
yeah, but I think, this is a question for both of you as IT industry veterans, and this is absolutely nothing related to TCS. But let me ask you this as representatives of the industry who have worked in this for decades, right? What's your personal view about the notice period? Is it really necessary? This long a notice period, is it necessary? Is it creating more of a hurdle and candidates are shopping around? It's becoming a lose-lose proposition instead of a win-win proposition. Frank, as I said, personal views, not TCS views from both of you.
I think 90 days is required. There's a transition period. There's a lot of things which happen when a person resigns, and there is a lot of transition time which is required, because specifically in the technical roles, when people are facing customer or doing work for customer behind the scenes. So definitely that is the reason that, we look at that 90 days of notice period into consideration, that yes, they have to be there around and helping the team to the next person and the next team who will be taking over from them to understand and to, we basically we are talking about business continuity, but nothing else. So that's why that 90 days is there and is existing. Just that, as I said before, everything connects to the individual who is moving out and the one who will be coming in. Life should be simpler for both of them, rather than getting it complicated, because at the end of the day, we are in a technology world where business continuity matters a lot. That's how I would say I would support that 90 days.
Hrishikesh?
I mean, the same here. In companies like TCS, Infosys, there has to be proper transition, right? So, and in TCS, we have seen cases where, if transition happened earlier, we've released candidates after 60 days, or need basis basically. But 90 days is, is a good time, for hire the next candidate and then, do the transitioning. So that way it's
So I think from an experienced hiring standpoint, Prashant, since you have been monitoring the questions, Prashant Girbane, do you want to pitch in with any of the experienced hiring questions first before we go to the more broader questions that we have received from the previous interactions? We have over 50 of those as well.
So here is an interesting one, right? This is from Akshay. Somebody who says, I have 4 years of experience in operations management profile, and I do not have any technical background. So what should I do if I'm still keen to switch to IT domain? So somebody with experience in non-IT and now wants to switch to IT domain.
Sure. So as I mentioned before, I'll just add this question along with another one which I saw in the chat bar, that somebody was asking about BBA qualification. What should I do and all of that. So both the questions, I'll just club it with my answer. That as I about our BPS roles, the non-IT roles. What is when you go to TCS Careers portal, you have IT roles. Then you have second one as BPS roles. So the person who are coming from a non-technical background, aspiring to be part of technical in future, can start somewhere. They have to start. So probably they can look at TCS BPS roles option to begin with, and definitely from there on, once they are into the industry, they can learn, because our talent development in IT industry as such, TCS, of course, I can speak for others also. I'm pretty sure that our talent development wing is very, very strong. And once they come inside, the person has the flexibility to learn technology and to move around within the organization. So that way, there is no stopping that a person will come and be, stuck up only with a non-technical role. Not like that. There are many people who have moved from technical to non-technical, non-technical to technical. So the rotation keeps on happening, and definitely they do have a future in case if they're really aspiring to be part of the IT world.
Hey, Kalaa, you talked about the BPS for BBAs as well as some of those non-technical ones. And you also mentioned that there will be further investment made by the organization in kind of developing the talent. Could you just explain a bit about the BPS, so that for the information of everyone else, what BPS is, so that they get it?
So everybody, BPS, I think if I would use the term BPO, business process outsourcing, they will relate to it. We are talking about business process sourcing here. And BPS roles are predominantly, we are talking about non-technical roles in terms of, I believe somebody who talked about 4 years of operations management would be aware of. If not that, it's more of an operations management wherein they're coming and we are servicing customer for, whether from a voice operations perspective or a process operation. It's more of a process management or a voice management, which we do under BPS. And there are a lot of positions which are open at this moment in time, and under freshers also, as I mentioned earlier, that definitely for freshers also, we are looking for a lot of students who come from non-engineering streams like BBA, from BBA to BSc. BSc comes both under IT as well as in the BPS side. So it's a borderline thing. Definitely, depending on the positions, we do align them, where the requirements are. So we have your BA, BCom, BBA, BSc, BF, B Pharma. You name the technology, all the non-technical ones will fall under BPS. And as I said, they are more into process management or a voice management, or you would have heard about clinical trials and a lot of other things, which we do in the healthcare space and all of that. So definitely, they do have a scope on the BPS side.
Thank you. Hey, Amit, can I just switch to just for one question? When you like, we can switch to the for the freshers.
I think let's go back to freshers because that's where bulk of the questions are. So feel free. Yeah.
Thanks. So sorry, Kalaa. Yeah, back to you. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry. One person, I believe, the question is again popping up. So I thought I'll just quickly answer.
Yeah.
I think in programming, they want to know that what exactly they're supposed to learn. So we are talking about programming from a C, C++, Java, Perl, Python. So these are the 5 languages from where the student will have an
Kalaa, we actually lost you. Could you please repeat again? I think there was an internet connection problem.
So C, C++, Java, Perl, Python. These are the 5 programming languages which we focus upon. The student will have the ability to pick up any one of the language for which the problem statement is given and to start with the answer during the test. So this is what they should practice and be prepared.
Thank you so much. I think that takes care of a bunch of questions that were just about about it. And I can imagine, like, for somebody who is still studying, right, that would be the most important one. So here is just 1 or 2 of those, and then I'll hand it back to Amit again. So this is Tushar's question. Tushar says, I was preparing for government exams, but I want to enter in IT sector. I'm practicing Python as entry level to get in IT sector. Please guide me. What should I do to enter and get a job? So I think, Tushar, this was already answered sufficiently in terms of the process for it. And good that you're learning Python, and it's an important language, right? Then there's another one. I think the question is about after HR round, for how long do they have to wait? Possibly a broader guidance on, is it days, weeks, months, would help.
Let them say for Q3 when we closed, we are now in Q4, and because of in between the festival holidays and a lot of other things happened, because of which in terms of the interviews which were going on, also there was a break in between for my team as well. So what I'm trying to say is that they will be the ones who are waiting for a feedback from Q3 process. They will be hearing from us very soon, in all probability by first week of Feb. The ones who are waiting for the result.
That's very helpful. I'll just take one more question and then back to Amit. And this is the last question that's left here on the chat window. And I'll add to that question. The question from Professor Sunil is, will Cambridge Business English and Microsoft certified course be an advantage to get in TCS? I might as well extend the question and say, what kind of certifications is an advantage to get into TCS? So both Kalaa and after that, Rishi, tumhi sudha bolla te baro hoil. Kalaa first, you. Yeah.
Yes, very interesting question and an important question. The way you tweaked it, definitely it will be helpful for the audience who are here. Our suggestion would be that industry, as somebody, I believe in from the lateral also, there was a question on the cloud technologies and all came up. So I will just add on to that point with my answer. So I'm sure most of you would be aware that the technology partners like AWS, SAP, Google Cloud, they are all running pro bono certifications in India. So all these students who are here on the call and the professors and the faculties who are on the call, my suggestion to all of them would be to encourage these students to take up these certifications, which are no cost certifications run directly by the technology partners, at least to start with. I'm talking about the basic certifications, what these technology partners are today conducting in India free of cost. So once they are done with this, they can look at advanced level certifications, which could be a paid model. I'm not sure if they would be interested, but at least at our level for freshers, when we are looking at these students, It always adds on to your resume. It enhances your resume. If you have put a AWS certification, a basic cloud practitioner certification, that's what I'm talking. I'm not talking about any high-end certification, a basic SAP module certification. It could be SAP FICO or ABAP or whichever module you are doing through SAP India, or a Google Cloud certification. Again, I'm talking about these are all basic certification, no cost attached certifications. So definitely this will help as a fresher. As you go up the ladder or as you want to further enhance your resume, you can definitely look at paid models by whichever institution is running and all. But my suggestion would be that start with certification. And the most important thing when I'm talking about certification, whether paid or unpaid, it's very important that when you face the interview, you should be able to answer that, whatever certification learning you have done, how are you going to apply it in a real-time scenario? Because that is a question which our panels do ask, and that's the time I've seen questions, really not being answered by students, which is the problem statement for me, because selections don't happen if they are blank, because the demonstrability of a particular area in which they have learned, the theory into practical, is something very, very important. As I mentioned earlier, whether a mechanical student or a civil student, I'm sure all the people who on the call would be aware that we do not have any demarcation in terms of which stream of engineering or which stream of qualification we'll be taking basis our requirement. As far as engineering is concerned, we allow all streams to participate. If that is the case, whatever they have learned, they should be able to tell us, whether any certification, because I see series of certifications mentioned in a resume, but when we ask them questions, they really go blank in terms of a real lifetime applicability of that. So this is what leading to certifications, I would say, Prashant.
Thank you so much. Amit, you'd like to take a couple of questions before at the end, I'll have two questions, but first you. Can't hear you, Amit. Nahi re, ऐकू येत
Can you
नाहीये.
hear me?
Now, yes.
Now I can.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So no, I think the same question that you asked, wanted to get Hrishikesh's view on it as well about certifications, and then I have some specific questions about certification that had come in earlier.
सो मी थोडं ब्रॉडर लेवलवर उत्तर देतो. म्हणजे जनरली नॉन CSIT चे मुलं असं आम्हाला इंटरव्ह्यूमध्ये फेक सांगतात की वी लव्ह प्रोग्रामिंग, ॲज इफ प्रोग्रामिंग येतं म्हटल्यानंतरच TCS मध्ये नोकरी मिळेल किंवा IT कंपनीत नोकरी मिळेल. पण ॲज Kalaa said, we need all kinds of engineers. I mean, and for their domain knowledge and not for their programming skills. Of course, I mean, programming skills will definitely have added advantage. पण कुठलंही एखादं एक्सटर्नल सर्टिफिकेशन किंवा एखादी फॉरेन लँग्वेज येणं हे डेफिनेटली ॲड त्यांचं CV मध्ये नक्कीच खूप त्यांना फायदा होईल. आणि TCS मध्ये म्हणा किंवा सगळ्याच मोठ्या IT कंपन्यांमध्ये वी हॅव क्लायंट्स अक्रॉस डोमेन्स. म्हणजे we have banking and finance domain, we have manufacturing, we have industrial and engineering services, we have life sciences. म्हणजे TCS मध्ये लाईफ सायन्सेस मध्ये MD मेडिसिन डॉक्टर सुद्धा TCS च्या पेरोलवर आहे. Of course, he will not be hired for his programming skills, right? We hire mechanical engineers, we hire civil engineers for their domain knowledge. 4 वर्षात देश शिकतात, त्याचं त्यांना व्यवस्थित नॉलेज असावं असंच आम्ही अपेक्षित आहे. म्हणजे जनरली आम्हाला मुलं विचारतात थोडंसं, आणि प्रोग्रामिंगला सगळे हे नॉन CSIT मुलं घाबरून असतात. पण ॲज आय सेड की एक बेसिक आम्हाला NQT ठेवावी लागते, त्यात प्रोग्रामिंग सेक्शन असतं. पण दॅट डज नॉट नेसेसरीली मीन की तुम्हाला अगदी हार्डकोर C प्रोग्रामिंगच्याच प्रोजेक्टवर आम्ही टाकू. इफ दे आर रिअली गुड इन देअर कोअर डोमेन स्किल्स, we have good infra projects also where we need architects or civil engineers to use their domain knowledge. किंवा मेकॅनिकलच्या मुलांना ऑटोमोबाईल, यू नेम एनी ऑटोमोबाईल कंपनी, दॅट प्रॉबेबली विल बी क्लायंट फॉर अस. आय मीन तिथे आम्हाला मेकॅनिकल इंजिनियर्स त्यांच्या डोमेन नॉलेजसाठी लागतात. इट्स जस्ट दॅट की NQT साठी त्यांना एक प्रोग्रामिंग लँग्वेज व्यवस्थित येणं गरजेचं आहे. तेवढं त्या फर्स्ट इयर ऑफ इंजिनिअरिंगमध्ये ते शिकतातच. पण इव्हन सर्टिफिकेशन्स इन देअर ओन डोमेन्स एरियाज विल डेफिनेटली ॲड लॉट ऑफ व्हॅल्यू. आणि ॲज आय सेड की आमच्याकडे अगदी वेगवेगळ्या डोमेनचे क्लायंट्स आहेत. तिथे आम्ही वी नीड दोज SMEs, वी नीड दोज डोमेन कन्सल्टंट्स, आणि वी डोंट नीड प्रोग्रामर्स. म्हणजे लोकांना असं वाटतं की TCS मध्ये 5 लाख लोक प्रोग्रामिंग करत बसलेले असतात कॉम्प्युटरवर. तसं नाही आहे. वी नीड अदर ग्रॅज्युएट्स ऑल्सो फॉर देअर डोमेन नॉलेज. सो ते जरी त्यांनी 4 वर्षाचं शिक्षण बेसिक व्यवस्थित हार्डकोर ठेवलं, म्हणजे जनरली आम्ही पॅनल लोकांना सांगतो की इफ अ स्टुडंट इज अ मेकॅनिकल इंजिनियर, इव्हॅल्युएट देम ऑन देअर कोर स्किल्स. आणि आम्ही त्यांना तेव्हा ऑफर देतानाच त्यांना वी टॅग देम टू लेट्स से इंजिनिअरिंग और इंडस्ट्रियल सर्व्हिसेस किंवा मॅन्युफॅक्चरिंग, सो दॅट दे विल बी देअर डोमेन स्किल्स विल बी युटिलाइज्ड ड्युरिंग देअर टेन्युअर इन TCS.
आय थिंक हा खूप महत्वाचा मुद्दा आहे. म्हणजे लोकांना वाटतं की टीसीएस असं नाही आणि सगळ्या मोठ्या आयटी कंपन्या, इव्हन मिड साईज आयटी कंपन्या हे फक्त प्रोग्रामिंगचीच कामं करतात आणि कम्प्युटर सायन्सचीच कामं करतात. तर तसं नाहीये. प्रोग्रामिंग आता तसं म्हणायला गेलं तर कुठल्याही इंजिनिअरिंग ब्रांचमध्ये थोडं प्रोग्रामिंग लागतं. सो प्रोग्रामिंग इन दॅट सेन्स हॅज बिकम अ हॉरिझॉन्टल स्किल. म्हणजे तुम्हाला बेसिक कॅल्क्युलस किंवा बेसिक फिजिक्स जसं शिकवतात कुठल्याही इंजिनिअरिंगला तसं प्रोग्रामिंग आहे. पण ते सोडलं तर बाकीच्या इंजिनिअरिंगच्या स्किल्स अजून खूप रेलेव्हंट आहेत आणि कदाचित त्याच्यात वाढ पण होणार आहे. म्हणजे आता मॅन्युफॅक्चरिंगमध्ये आपण परत एक नवीन रेनेसान्स बघतोय गेल्या 2 वर्षात आणि भारतात सुद्धा. तर बाकीच्या डिपार्टमेंटच्या लोकांनी सुद्धा असं अस्युम करू नये की इथे फक्त सीएस आणि आयटीचीच लोक
ऑन टॉप ऑफ इट मी हे पण सांगू शकेन की बेसिकली प्रोग्रामिंग हे एक अक्वायर्ड स्किल आहे, राईट? आय मीन ट्रेनिंग आमच्याकडे इतकं कन्व्हिन्सिंगली येऊन सांगतात की आम्हाला जावा डेव्हलपमेंटमध्येच प्रोग्राम प्रोजेक्ट पाहिजे, ॲज इफ जावा इज देअर मदर टंग. आईच्या पोटात शिकवणार असं ते वागतात. पण इफ दे कॅन लर्न सी, दे कॅन डेफिनेटली लर्न C++, दे कॅन डेफिनेटली लर्न जावा. म्हणजे त्यांच्या प्रोफेशनल डिग्रीमध्ये बेसिकली ते एक ऍप्टिट्यूड घेऊन येतात, हे आम्हाला माहिती आहे. इंटरव्ह्यूमध्ये आम्ही त्यांचा ऍटिट्यूड चेक करतो. बाकीच्या पुढच्या सगळे स्किल्स आर अक्वायर्ड स्किल्स दॅट वी कॅन ट्रेन देम डेफिनेटली.
ऍब्सोल्युटली. आणि प्रोग्रामिंग तू असं म्हणलास तसं आता मी माझ्या पर्सनल एक्सपिरियन्सवरून पण सांगतो की प्रोग्रामिंग ऍप्टिट्यूड ही बेसिक स्किल तुम्ही इंजिनिअरिंगमध्ये शिकलात की त्याच्यानंतरच्या भाषा हे तुम्हाला ऑन द जॉबच बऱ्याच वेळा शिकायला लागतात. कारण लँग्वेज इज ऑल्सो इव्हॉल्विंग. आता फॉर एक्झाम्पल Python wasn't big 10 years back. Java wasn't big 20 years back. So, every 5-10 years, languages will change. Your basic aptitude is what, and your ability to learn a new programming language is more important than that, right? एक प्रश्न घेतो मी हा आणि पार्शली आन्सर झालाय पण हा खूप रेलेव्हंट क्वेश्चन आहे म्हणून मी आहे तसाच वाचून दाखवतो. काल का परवा आलेला आहे. Companies are always looking for degree stamps rather than skills. Nowadays, there are various certification training programs and self-learning modules. Still, companies are stuck with traditional college degrees. Why? Do we get to a mode where degrees don't matter?
I believe time is not far. This is a very personal view looking at the market, and the question is very apt because today we are talking about skill hiring, then why degrees so must. But definitely, as of now, as I said, future I don't know, but I personally I feel maybe days are not far. But as far as the current scenario is concerned, somewhere we have to draw the line in terms of having some basic, fundamentally drawing the line somewhere. So basically, that's why I believe we have that criteria, eligibility criteria and everything coming into picture. But at the same time, on a little different note, right now our Code Vita registrations are going on. Code Vita is our flagship TCS coding program contest. And there we talk about, students from various arena participating with no eligibility criteria. For example, these students need not think about their percentages, their CGPAs, and no gap. Somebody asked question about gap. We said only 24 months allowed. I am telling you, no gaps. If you go, you apply, just see what happens. If you're able to crack that coding contest, you will be ending up with maybe a job offer with TCS, depending on how you perform. So while the industry is having certain eligibility criteria, we also create platform for the potential hires who can utilize without having all those eligibility criteria and all coming into picture. So
I think I'm glad you mentioned that because I have personally seen such success stories where candidates haven't completed degrees and yet have demonstrated amazing problem solving coding skills which were relevant to that particular position, and they have managed to short circuit the process, right? Without and I hope I agree with you, and I hope that in a few years from now we will get to that model. And entrance exams, qualifying exams like what TCS is setting up is those exams are also an important part of this process, because if you're able to demonstrate your skills in various areas, then that at the end of the day is going to be more important than how much you score in your degrees, right? A question related to that, I would almost it's a corollary to this question, is 60% a hard cutoff then for your basic education? If someone has demonstrated great programming skills or has done extremely well on your aptitude exam, does it really matter how much? Fine, they are cleared the degree. Let's say they have got the degree, but does it really matter how well they did there?
As of now, for the process, what he's referring to for NQT, yes. For the weekend tests, yes, it is a must. But as I said, we do have alternate platforms wherein your 60% doesn't matter. That is Code Vita is what I was talking about, and other contests. We have HackQuest going on right now. We have Code Vita registrations going on. So all these contest modules, they do not ask you for any hardcore eligibility criteria. All you can go is apply and get your job. And even if NQT you have applied and you don't have a 60%, and if you've really, really done exceptionally well, when I say exceptionally well, it should be exceptionally well. Definitely that will come into our notice and we will take due consideration.
So you will notice. That's good to hear.
Absolutely.
ऋषिकेश, एक प्रश्न अगेन हा अत्यंत आपल्या एज्युकेशन सिस्टमशी रिलेटेड क्वेश्चन आहे. सो इट इज टू बी एक्सपेक्टेड. आणि आय थिंक आय नो युअर आन्सर, बट आय स्टिल आस्क इट. हाऊ डू यू प्रिपेअर फॉर द TCS एंट्रन्स एक्झाम?
शुअर डेफिनेटली. नाही, मी आधीच्या प्रश्नावर पण थोडस कलाला ऍड करतो. वी नो दॅट IT स्किल्स कॅन कम फ्रॉम एनिवेअर. म्हणजे हा जो 60% एलिजिबिलिटी क्रायटेरियाचा प्रश्न हा बऱ्याच मुलांना असतो. आणि वी नो दॅट प्रोग्रामिंग स्किल्स कॅन कम फ्रॉम एनिवेअर. आणि त्यासाठीच आम्ही 10 वर्षापूर्वीच वी हॅव क्रिएटेड दिस प्लॅटफॉर्म. आम्ही त्याला कॉन्टेस्ट बेस्ड हायरिंग किंवा गेमिफाईड हायरिंग असं म्हणतो. आणि वी स्टार्टेड विथ कोड विटा. दॅट वॉज अवर फ्लॅगशिप कॉन्टेस्ट. आणि ओव्हर द पिरियड ऑफ इयर्स आमच्या तर साधारण वर्षाला 5 ते 6 वेगवेगळे कॉन्टेस्ट आम्ही घेतो, ज्या कॉन्टेस्टमध्ये एलिजिबिलिटी क्रायटेरिया बिलकुल नाहीये विथ रिस्पेक्ट टू पर्सेंटेज. म्हणजे अगदी एखादा 40% वाला मुलगा, एखादा इयर डाऊन असलेला मुलगा सुद्धा कॅन बी फ्रॉम सिव्हिल डिपार्टमेंट बट कॅन बी अ तोफ प्रोग्रामर. आणि टू गिव्ह अ फेअर चान्स टू सच स्टुडंट्स वी हॅव लॉन्च दिस कॉन्टेस्ट. आणि द सगळ्यात इम्पॉर्टंट पार्ट ऑफ दिस कॉन्टेस्ट इज मुलं अगदी फर्स्ट इयर पासून पार्टिसिपेट करू शकतात. म्हणजे कोड विटामध्ये फर्स्ट इयर इंजिनिअरिंगचा मुलगा सुद्धा जर चांगला त्यांनी स्कोअर काढला तर बेसिस इज परफॉर्मन्स ही ऑर शी कॅन गेट मे बी इंटर्नशिप इन TCS. किंवा अगदीच खूप एक्सेप्शनली चांगला रँक असेल तर कदाचित पोस्ट डेटेड ऑफर पण मिळेल तिला TCS कडनं. आणि कोड विटा ही आमची कॉर्पोरेट लेवल ग्लोबल कॉन्टेस्ट झाली. म्हणजे जवळजवळ 3-3.5 लाख मुलं दरवर्षी पार्टिसिपेट करतात. त्याच्या व्यतिरिक्त 5 वेगवेगळ्या कॉन्टेस्ट TCS मध्ये एका स्पेसिफिक व्हर्टिकल युनिट्सनी डिझाईन केल्या आहेत. आणि दे हॅव डिझाईन इन सच अ वे दॅट दे विल गेट द राईट सेट ऑफ टॅलेंट फॉर देअर वर्क. म्हणजे फॉर एक्झाम्पल आमच्याकडे एक सायबर सिक्युरिटी प्रॅक्टिस नावाचं युनिट आहे. त्यांनी एक हॅकवेस्ट नावाची एथिकल हॅकिंगची कॉन्टेस्ट लॉन्च केली आहे. आता बऱ्याचशा मुलांना आजकाल एथिकल हॅकिंग, सायबर सिक्युरिटी, डेटा प्रायव्हसीमध्ये खूप इच्छा असते करिअर करायची. त्यांच्यासाठी ही ॲब्सोल्युटली रिलेव्हंट कॉन्टेस्ट आहे. किंवा जसं अजून एक कॉन्टेस्ट आहे, इंजिनेक्स नावाची एक कॉन्टेस्ट आहे, विच इज स्पेसिफिकली फॉर कोर ब्रांच स्टुडंट्स. म्हणजे मेकॅनिकल, सर्किट ब्रांचच्या मुलांसाठी कॉन्टेस्ट आहे, जी इंजिनिअरिंग अँड इंडस्ट्रियल सर्व्हिसेस नावाच्या युनिटने डिझाईन केली आहे. तर त्या मुलांना त्या युनिटमध्ये काम करायची संधी मिळू शकते. किंवा आता गेल्या वर्षीच एक ह्युमेन नावाची कॉन्टेस्ट लॉन्च केली आहे आम्ही युनिटनी, विच इज स्पेसिफिकली फोकस्ड ऑन AI ML डीप लर्निंग वर्क. त्यात पण बऱ्याच मुलांना इंटरेस्ट असतो. मग त्या कॉन्टेस्टमध्ये पण ती मुलं पार्टिसिपेट करू शकतात. आणि कोड विटा सोडले तर बाकीच्या सगळ्या कॉन्टेस्टमध्ये एक साधारण फायनल इयर आणि प्री फायनल इयरची मुलं पार्टिसिपेट करू शकतात. सो ह्या पण अनेक संध्या मुलांना आहेत ज्यांना इंटरेस्ट आहे आणि रेग्युलर एलिजिबिलिटीमध्ये बसत नाहीयेत. त्यांच्यासाठी या कॉन्टेस्ट इज द बेस्ट ऑप्शन टू ग्रॅब दोज अपॉर्च्युनिटीज. रेग्युलर कॅम्पस रिक्रुटमेंटमध्ये तयारी करण्यासाठी ॲज वी मेन्शन की कॉग्निटिव्ह ॲबिलिटीज म्हणजे ॲप्टिट्यूड म्हणा, रिझनिंग म्हणा, व्हर्बल ॲबिलिटी. आता ह्याला त्या जनरल मार्केटमध्ये GRE कॅटचं कुठलंही मटेरियल वापरून ते तयारी करू शकतात. प्रोग्रामिंगसाठी सुद्धा कुठली पण एक प्रोग्रामिंग लँग्वेज व्यवस्थित येणं हेच एक अपेक्षित आहे. मग बीट पायथन और बीट C और C++. जनरली इंजिनिअरिंगच्या करिक्युलममध्ये ते शिकतातच. आजकाल बरेचसे मुलं युडेमीवरनं पण कोर्सेस करू शकतात. किंवा इनफॅक्ट TCSचं पण एक कॅम्पस कम्युनिटीवर एक एनीवन कॅन कोड नावाचं एक चॅनल आहे, होतं ते आता परत लॉन्च होणार आहे, ज्यात वेगवेगळ्या प्रोग्रामिंग लँग्वेजचे छोटे छोटे ट्युटोरियल्स ठेवलेत. ते वापरून पण मुलं त्यांचे प्रोग्रामिंग स्किल्स इम्प्रूव्ह करू शकतात. आणि
तुमची जी एक्झाम असते त्याच्यामध्ये तुम्ही ज्या 5 लँग्वेजेस सांगितल्या त्या चॉईस असतो ना स्टुडंट्सना?
हो, तर 5 पैकी कुठली पण एक प्रोग्रामिंग लँग्वेज वापरून दे हॅव टू अपियर. जनरली 6 प्रॉब्लेम स्टेटमेंट असतात. त्यातलं कमीत कमी एका प्रॉब्लेम स्टेटमेंटवर त्यांनी प्रोग्राम लिहावा असं अपेक्षित असतं. आणि अगदी वी हॅव सीन दॅट इव्हन मेकॅनिकल सिव्हिल स्टुडंट्स क्रॅक दॅट टेस्ट. म्हणजे असं नाही की खूप ते हायफाय असतं. एक बेसिक तुम्हाला लॉजिक जर डेव्हलप करता आलं, म्हणजे मुलांनी जनरली प्रोग्रामिंगला घाबरून जाऊन ते अपियरच करत नाही असं करायला नाही पाहिजे मुलांनी. ॲज आय सेड की एक स्टँडर्ड नॅशनल क्वालिफायर टेस्ट हवी म्हणून मग ती प्रोग्रामिंग सेक्शन आहे. पण अगदी सिव्हिल मेकॅनिकलचे मुलं पण कॅन कन्सिडर TCS एज अ कोअर कंपनी. हे तर मी बऱ्याचशा कॉलेजमध्ये सांगतो की एव्हरी इंजिनियर कॅन कन्सिडर TCS एज अ कोअर कंपनी. म्हणजे मेकॅनिकल डोमेनमध्ये सुद्धा आमच्याकडे अगदी कोअरमध्ये जेवढं काम चालत नाही तेवढं कोअर काम आमच्याकडे चालतं. अगदी एक सिंपल उदाहरण द्यायचं झालं तर TCS पुणे ऑफिसमध्ये एका प्रोजेक्टमध्ये आम्ही इंडियन नेव्हीचं सबमरीन एंड टू एंड सिम्युलेट केलंय. यू कॅन इमॅजिन व्हॉट काइंड ऑफ इंजिनियर्स विल रिक्वायर फॉर सिम्युलेटिंग अ सबमरीन एंड टू एंड. म्हणजे अगदी इन्स्ट्रुमेंटेशन म्हणा, इलेक्ट्रिकल म्हणा, सिव्हिल, सगळे इंजिनियर्स लागतात अशा प्रोजेक्टला. सो
No, I think that's you're highlighting this multiple times, both of you, that this is not just a computer science, CS, IT disciplines alone. मगाशी एक क्वेश्चन आला होता, आय थिंक तो एक रिलेव्हंट आहे फ्रेशर हायरिंगचा, की पीजी हायरिंग करता काही प्रोसेस वेगळी आहे का हेच आहे सगळं?
हेच आहे, सेम.
No change in
No change.
in any of this, right? A related question that I'll ask is, सर्टिफिकेशन वरती आपण बोललो, सगळे लोक कुठले कुठले सर्टिफिकेशन करतात आणि आपण टेस्ट बद्दल पण बोललो. तर या सगळ्या प्रोसेसमध्ये रेझ्युमेला किती महत्व राहिले? टेस्ट असले तर रेझ्युमेची काही गरजच नाहीये का? तुम्ही एक आपलं फक्त काय सर्टिफिकेशन केलं एवढं सांगा, बाकी काही देऊ नका. म्हणजे काही लोक रेझ्युमे करण्यातच खूप वेळ घालवतात आणि काही लोक म्हणतात आता रेझ्युमेला काही अर्थ उरला नाही कारण आता टेस्ट आहे. त्यामुळे तुमचं मत आवडेल ऐकायला.
नाही, रेझ्युमे इज इम्पॉर्टंट. म्हणजे तो बघूनच बेसिकली तुम्ही काय आहात हे एक पहिलं फर्स्ट इम्प्रेशन जे पडतं, अँड देर इज नो सेकंड चान्स फॉर फर्स्ट इम्प्रेशन. सो रेझ्युमे इज व्हेरी इम्पॉर्टंट. आणि लॅटरल हायरिंग मध्ये तर आहेच आहे. म्हणजे तुम्ही काय केलं हे बेसिकली
लॅटरलला प्रश्न नाही, पण फ्रेशरला तुम्ही काही सांगू शकाल का स्पेसिफिकली की काय काय हायलाइट व्हायला पाहिजे रेझ्युमे? आय थिंक प्लीज, बिकॉज पीपल एंड अप पुटिंग लॉट ऑफ unrelated stuff but miss out on what is important to people like you.
Yes, so our only 2 points here would be that we are not looking for any fancy resume. We are looking for a relevant resume. And the most important, the second point here is that whatever a student is writing in the resume, trust me, the panels who are taking their interviews from our side are experienced professionals. They have been in the industry for a very long time. They can catch you right there, what you have written in your resume if it is not what you have done. So it's very important, because we have seen students at times struggling to explain what they have written in the resume. That cannot be the case. You cannot go wrong with your resume. So that's what I'm saying. Keep it simple. No need to make it very fancy, and keep it simple, but you should be able to explain any good point from whichever is coming from your resume by the panelist. You should be able to answer. That's all.
Good. I think thanks for clarifying that. Amit Ambekar, quick time check. It's 1:00. How much more time? Because we have a lot of questions. How much time do we have? And of course, this question for our panelists as well.
No, I can say, considering also Kalaa's health, we can actually just extend for 5 to 10 minutes more, not more than that.
Okay, that's fair. So Prashant, why don't you, since you have been going through all the questions, pick up some of the priority ones?
No, thanks, Amit. I think most of the questions are already answered. I think some of the most frequently asked questions were the languages. And I think both Kalaa and Rishi talked about the C, C++, Java, Perl, and Python multiple times. Some of the questions were about technical and non-technical background. I think that also got explained. Some questions were very operational ones in terms of how long do they wait till get the communication, but that got answered as well. I think many of these questions are already answered that we have. I have a couple of questions to end this conversation. But before that, I should also mention very at the end of this, I'll introduce Amit to you. Amit, essentially, for all of you, is graduate of IIT Mumbai. He's a mechanical engineer, but he worked in an IT company for long in US. And
yes,
then
I'm an example of what Rishi has been talking about all along.
That's why I'm mentioning it. Otherwise, there's no need to. And worked in an IT company in pretty senior role, then came back to Pune, and he's been mentoring many startups. And we're very thankful to Amit that he's chairing the ITES committee in MCCIA. Now, coming to the questions, I think it's very broad questions. And Rishi, if I could request you to please respond to this. मुद्दा असा आहे की किती एक हजारांमध्ये तुम्ही लोक रिक्रूट करताय या वर्षी, आणि दुसरा प्रश्न असा साहजिक असतो की हे बरेच वर्ष चालेल का? जर एखादा ऐकणारा एकदा फर्स्ट इयर मध्ये असेल कुठल्या ग्रॅज्युएशनच्या, तर त्यासाठी प्रश्न आहे की हे सगळं ठीक आहे, या वर्षीचं जे पास होत आहेत त्या सर्वांचं मार्गदर्शन ठीक आहे सर्वांसाठी, मात्र मला आणखी 4-5 वर्ष आहेत, तर हे 4-5 वर्ष असं चालेल का, असा एक सहज प्रश्न असतो बऱ्याच लोकांचा. पब्लिक फोरम आहे त्यामुळे असाही प्रश्नाला उत्तर देणं खूप बरं पडेल आणि त्यानंतर आपण कन्क्लूड करूयात. आणि त्यानंतर विल ask one last time if there is any last comment from Amit, Kalaa and you, and then I'll hand it over to Amit Ambekar to conclude. So to begin with, first Rishi.
कित्येक हजार म्हणजे आता त्याला सांगेल की गेल्या क्वार्टरमध्ये आम्ही 34,000 लोकांना ऑनबोर्ड केलंय आणि यावर्षी कदाचित 75,000 क्रॉस होईल आमचा आकडा. पण याचं कारण आहे कारण टीसीएस सध्या 5.5 लाख एम्प्लॉईज ट्रेनची कंपनी आहे, म्हणजे इट्स अ ह्यूज एलिफंट. आणि जरी का टीसीएसचा सगळ्यात लोएस्ट ॲट्रिशन रेट आहे, पण तो जरी धरला तरी एक 10% जरी म्हटलं तरी 50-55,000 लोक सोडून जातात दरवर्षी. तेवढे मिनिमम तर बेसिक आम्हाला हायर करावेच लागतात. त्यामुळे ती ॲपेटाईट आमची राहणारच काय आता, सिन्स टीसीएस इज ग्रोईंग, 5-5.5 लाखाचे 6 लाख 7 लाख होईल, 10 लाख पण क्रॉस होईल, यू नेव्हर नो. त्यामुळे 50,000 1 लाख लोक आम्हाला कमीत कमी दरवर्षी लागत राहणारच आहे. सो दॅट्स फॉर शुअर. आणि जे मुलं फर्स्ट सेकंड इयर मध्ये आहेत, हे आता गेल्या 2 वर्षापासून आपण बघतोय कोविडमुळे सगळंच डिस्टर्ब झालंय. त्यामुळे त्यांच्यासाठी माझ्या मते ॲक्वायरिंग न्यू स्किल्स ऑन देअर ओन इज द रिअल स्किल फॉर देम इन टुडेज वर्ल्ड. हे मी सांगू शकेन की बरेचसे आता हे जे अनफॉर्च्युनेटली त्यांना फेस टू फेस टीचर्स मिळत नाही आहेत, त्यांना कॉलेज अटेंड करता येत नाही आहे, त्यामुळे त्यांना सगळं दे आर लॉक्ड इन टू द स्क्रीन्स अनफॉर्च्युनेटली. पण त्या स्क्रीन्सचा चांगला व्यवस्थित फायदा करून घ्यावा आणि त्यांनी त्यांचे नवीन नवीन स्किल्स स्वतःचे स्वतः शिकत जावे, हे जर त्यांनी व्यवस्थित केलं तर डेफिनेटली, आणि तेच त्यांना रिसॉर्ट आहे, म्हणजे टीचर्स त्यांना फेस टू फेस मिळणं फारच अवघड वाटते पुढचं ऍटलीस्ट अजून एक 6-8 महिने वर्ष तरी, हे वर्षही त्यांचं बहुतेक असंच जाणार आहे. त्यामुळे लर्निंग न्यू स्किल्स ऑन देअर ओन इज द रिअल स्किल इन टुडेज वर्ल्ड. So that is it.
Thank you so much. I think to all the participants, I would say that some of the questions that you're asking now are already answered. Whenever you have an opportunity, you can go to the YouTube, MCCIA YouTube channel, and you would be able to listen to this program again, as and when you like, and also share with other friends. For the last part of this session, I would ask Kalaa if there is any last comments, then Amit, and then I'll hand it over to Amit Ambekar. Kalaa.
Thank you, Prashant. Now, one question I believe which people are asking, and I think we are not able to give answer at this moment in time. They are asking that where to go and apply. I believe there are a few questions related to that, where they should go. What we will do is that, Prashant, if it's okay and if it's okay with you, we will share the links with you, all the job postings, whatever we are talking about under Freshers Radar. And probably if you want to circulate that email to all the audience in terms if they want to apply again, they can.
Sure.
That is one part I thought I'll cover because I'm seeing quite a few questions asking about where to apply and all of that. Right. Second, in terms of my closing comments, I will speak for the industry. Definitely, this is applicable for TCS. I can, as Hrishikesh mentioned, that we have been with the organization, with the industry for long enough. When we say that 15 plus, 16 plus, 17 plus years in the industry, when we are existing, definitely I can tell you that we both are long-term TCSers in this organization, and we take extreme proud about that fact. And that's why we always keep, though it is, I know it was a generic topic in terms of how IT industry is doing. I would say that IT as such, you have a great future. Definitely all those who are aspiring to be part of the industry, you can definitely look out for your best of your aspirations getting met, one. And as far as how IT is doing, how the growth is looking like, all I would like to say is that we were there, we are there, and we will definitely be there in terms of the growth journey. And thank you so much for this opportunity. Definitely a lot of interesting questions. I believe the audience was a mix of faculty, students, and everybody. And we are there, and pandemic, no pandemic, we will be existing, and we are there to support you. Thank you so much.
Many thanks. Thank you so much, Kalaa. Amit, Paranjape.
I'll be brief. First of all, big thanks to Kalaa and Hrishikesh for doing this. I think a lot of important information has been covered and a lot of questions have been answered. And we will post the links that you sent us for further information. Amit Ambekar, when we post the YouTube recording of this, we can also superimpose some of the links here so that when people are catching it later, they can just get it right there. In terms of closing comments, I'll just highlight that I think this industry has an extremely bright future, especially in the next few years, because what we have been seeing in the last 2 years, and we were just talking about it, some of you may have heard it before we started the webinar, is this is a major disruptive event for the IT industry, something like what we had seen in 2000 Y2K. Many of you may not have been around back then, but I'm sure you have heard of that phrase and that event. Because of the pandemic, there have been some fundamental changes that have happened around the world. And many people, many companies, many large companies around the world, which are customers of Indian IT industry, have woken up to the need for digital transformation and enabling IT. And that is driving significant demand. And I think that demand is not going to disappear anytime soon. So I think what we are going to see over the next few years is going to be a lot more than what we saw over, say, the last 10 years. So I think from that standpoint, this is a great opportunity for job seekers, for students in this area. And I'll just summarize what Hrishikesh and Kalaa have said multiple times. I say this multiple times to students that I meet is if you're preparing for the market, I think skilling is very important. Certifications are nice, but demonstrable skills are more important. If you list a lot of certificates, but if you're not able to demonstrate them in the online exam or in-person interviews, they are meaningless. So focus a lot on actual problem solving, actual experience, even if it's an internship, even if it's just practicing on your own, whether it's coding, whether it's doing any other project work or things like that. That is going to be more important for students than anything else. And we also hope that going forward, degrees and formal scores like 60% cutoff matter less and less. We've got some positive vibes on that. So I think it may take a few years, but we're definitely moving in that direction where increasingly formal certification and degrees matter less and what you're able to demonstrate. So all in all, it's a great place to be right now. IT, TCS, you've heard the numbers, and they are, as I said, the leaders for the Indian IT industry. So whatever they say they do, a lot of the other industry companies are following that. And stay tuned for more updates from MCCIA. As Prashant and Amit Ambekar mentioned earlier, we hope to do this series and have more companies in the coming weeks talk about similar topics and issues for the IT industry and IT industry job seekers. So thank you for all joining. And Amit Ambekar, over to you for the closing process.
Yes, thank you so much, all of you. It was a wonderful discussion. Thank you so much, Kalaa. Despite your health, you came and guided all the students, professors. Thank you so much. Hrishikesh, always a pleasure. And we hope to see you again in some way or other where you come here. Amit sir, thank you so much for your proper guidance and also asking the right questions to the right people. And always Prashant sir, thank you so much for driving this or initiating this a series where I assure all of you who are participating right now that every month we are trying to invite one IT company who would also talk about their process, how they are recruiting new talents, what they are looking from the upcoming students. So it's keep following us. If you have any further questions, please, I have already mentioned our WhatsApp chatbot that we have launched recently. You can you can ask us any question and we would get back to you definitely. We will also post all the links and everything that Kalaa was talking about so that anybody wants to apply on those links can definitely take a help of those links and apply. And I think one takeaway that I personally have from all of this is like, even when I was a student, I never applied to an IT company thinking that, okay, I do not have the coding skills, so I shouldn't apply there. Maybe in future, Hrishikesh and Kalaa, maybe I'll send my resume to you and let's see what happens. But other than that, thank you so much. I think this was a very insightful conversation that we all had. And students and professors and experienced professionals, please get in touch with us and we'll definitely help you in whichever way we can. And stay tuned for more companies coming to MCCI. Okay. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a pleasant weekend and see you soon. Bye-bye. Take care.
Thank you all.
Thank you all. Thank you. Bye now.
Bye.